Sunday afternoon fatigue is starting to kick in. I think I need a little bit of a pick-me-up juice to get me through. What? Can a guy not make a carajillo for himself on a Sunday afternoon? I said I needed to wake up, but didn't mean I don't want to be chill. Peace. So relaxing. The only thing that would make this a lot more relaxed if I was sitting out on the patio with the sun beaming down on me while drinking it. Of course, best case scenario, I'd be in Spain drinking this. Good memories. But going along to new things or different things, one of the most versatile dishes you're going to find out there is clearly pizza. And I don't think anyone is ever going to debate that. You could prepare it in so many ways. Lots of toppings you put on is generally acceptable. Except for people who make a fuss about putting pineapple on their pizza, but that's not going to count. And you could prepare gluten-free ones. They even have vegetable flour or other types of flour you can use, so it's really easy to do. And technically it's healthy because you have all of your food groups all together, except if you add copious amounts of fat into there, in which case it becomes one of the worst things you can eat. And I've been doing a lot of thinking. I enjoyed my mom's pizza she used to make in the past, and I've done some since I've been in this house, but I'm kind of realizing that I've never made my own pizza dough from scratch in the years I've been here. And seeing how I was trying to find other episodes about comfort food, find out what comforts people when they need some good food, I figured I am going to cover that today on the Wanderuki Cheese Cafe. I'm going to make my own dough, and I'm going to make my own sauce. So stay tuned. We are going to do some learning now. So to put together your basic tomato sauce, there's a lot of varieties, but I'm just going to show one that I found earlier today. It's actually pretty simple. First, you take a medium bowl, like this size, and then you put some tomato sauce. In terms of size, you go for like 390 mils, or I guess the equivalent of 15 ounces, and then just pour it in. And then just empty it up and make sure it'll be well emptied so you can make sure that all your reserves are used. You don't want the stuff to go to waste, obviously. That's done. So then before you think I just have to season it up and then it's good to go, we're actually missing some key stuff. Basic tomato sauce, as good as it is, it's so liquidy that it's not going to be enough to thicken up the sauce. So your little trick to that is to take 156 milliliters or a small can of tomato paste. Put that in, then this is going to thicken up when you're stirring it around. And then that's going to be even more tasty. There. And I already see a bit of a difference from the little bit that I've stirred together. So you do this, it's going to thicken up. It'll be much more fun to spread on your dough afterwards. Very basic, honestly. Something I was told too about some parts of Italy, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, is there's something unique about each one of the sauces you get. Pizza sauce, pasta sauce, depending on the city. So I suppose that each one has their own variation of oil, variation of spice that makes them so distinct. I've only been to a handful of cities, obviously, so I don't know the whole country to be able to be an expert on it. But it's a nice, interesting thought. One part of a country could have a so different tomato sauce from another one. There. So, this is starting to thicken it up well. So I'll keep doing that, but I should also get the seasoning in. Okay. Sorry, I had to do an intermission quickly because I realized I forgot my catahillo. So heavenly. So your first big seasoning that you're going to use within the sauce is actually a pretty basic thing you get in most Italian cooking, oregano. And they actually say to use like 1 to 2 tablespoons to taste, which sounds like a lot. But then I suppose with the amount that you're going to be using here and the quantities of the sauce, it's going to be inconsequential. Just to do the taste for the first one, I'm using 1 tablespoon as a taste test. Then once you're done with that, you can probably use some garlic powder and onion powder to give another bit of flavoring. In terms of this quantity, I want to say like maybe half a teaspoon of each will get the job done. And if it overflows a little bit, then don't worry about it. Having too much garlic is better than not having enough garlic. It's good for you. Puts hair on your chest. And no, I'm not doing that joke again. Nobody needs to see my chest hairs. And now, the onion powder. It's funny, this one's going to come out like a very powdery texture compared to granulated garlic too. There, half a teaspoon of that. This is looking good as well. And then another one that's actually pretty interesting to use too that I never would have thought about is marjoram. Actually, no, not the marjoram in this. I actually found that another variety before. Anyways, that's also another thought that I can use too. But the next thing would be some ground pepper. Once again, you don't want to overdo the pepper in this. Something like maybe a 1/4 teaspoon is enough. There, just like that. Garlic, onion. Now they ask for garlic salt in addition to garlic powder. So I don't know, I don't really have that on me. I never really used it much in my cooking. But I guess to compensate for that, instead of using half a tablespoon of it, I'm going to use half a tablespoon of regular salt. More or less. I suppose it's not the end of the world because it does seem like a lot of salt to put in here. But spread out, you're not going to notice too much of a difference. Then you would need maybe 1 teaspoon of sugar. So let's see, 1 teaspoon. That's got to be like the equivalent of 1 cube of sugar, like right here. It's kind of like the other meat sauce I did with my lasagna. So much tomato, it's going to be very acidic, very bitter, so you add a little bit of sugar. You add a little bit of sugar just to take the bite out of it. You don't need to overdo that as well. So then once you're done with this, you stir it all up. Let it blend in pretty well. And then, well, the sugar's not fully dissolved yet, but it's going to look like this. And it has a very heavenly taste too with all those seasonings. It's like a lot of good Italian cooking I find. Just put oregano, put basil, sugar, garlic, and then that gives you like the basic of it too. Of course, oregano is pretty big in a lot of Greek cooking too. I did chicken a while back, found a recipe that, oh yeah, I did show that off online a while back. And I was told that the only thing I was missing in a recipe was oregano, because if it ain't there, it ain't Greek. Learn something new every day. It's almost like Italian and Greek cooking both have some very similar styles or similar choices of ingredients. So then once you're pretty sure this is all mixed up together, keep it aside at room temperature if you need, or if you don't think you're going to be using it just yet, you can actually put it away in the fridge for about a week. Me, I would probably not worry about it as much, because I eat this stuff pretty fast. Or if you don't think you're going to use it, it could be frozen for a month. So another one of those things that's very plentiful, very inexpensive to do as well. This I'm just going to keep aside because obviously I want to cook it tonight. But then I'm going to get to the next step, my dough. And I haven't done it from scratch before, so it's the first time for anything. Hallelujah. Well, next step for the dough, I have the food processor all put together, and I'm going to start getting a few of the ingredients put in. I've also got a little bit of water in the kettle to set it up to get warm. Warm, not boiling, because if you boil it, it's not going to work. And then, once again, I have my dough blade in the food processor to make sure that it doesn't cut up my dough as I, because I don't want it to cut, period. So for this, you're going to need about 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Then you're going to need about 1 teaspoon of salt to add into this. So if you've been paying attention to my videos for a while, you're probably thinking about this and thinking, wait, isn't this pierogi dough? Yes and no. There's going to be some ingredients that are common with most types of dough that you make, but each one is going to have its own unique set. Like in this case, it's going to require some yeast as well, a little bit of sugar, and some salt. The sugar and the yeast are not what you had in your pierogi dough, but we'll get to that in a second. So my water warmed up pretty well. I've got it in this small bowl, and I've added 1 teaspoon of sugar to start it up. The next thing I'm going to have to do is add some yeast. As for the yeast then, I think I realized something. My recipe called for instant yeast. This one I got was traditional active dry yeast. It says not recommended for recipes that call for instant or quick rise. Uh-oh, we might be in trouble here. I guess that's a risk I'm going to take. It's all I have over here. I don't feel like running out to the store again. So let's hope for the best. So I'm going to cut this up and stir it. And the idea is that you want to see this thing foaming in the water before you start adding it in to your flour mixture. Your flour mixture is going to be your 2 cups of flour and your 1 teaspoon of salt. So all that is ready to go. So I'm going to just stir this in together, and then I let it sit for about 5 minutes. Once those 5 minutes are up, I should see it starting to foam at the top, and that will be my sign that it's time to work the dough. So, this dough is going to be spun on the low speed, and then as it's starting to mix up, I'm going to slowly add in the yeast water into that, and then increase the speed to medium. And if all goes well, it should become a big glob of dough that I can handle and play with. Once that's done, I'll get a giant bowl, oil it up lightly, let it sit in there, and then I'm going to let it rise. I just hope that it's not going to be as bad. Like, can it be edible? Is it going to give me a good look? Is it going to be a good sound? And I guess I could just say, well, since I have my David Bowie shirt on, I'll just say, waiting for the gift of sound and vision. There we are. So, this didn't turn out to be as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I guess I'll wait for the final result to see if the fruit of my labor is going to pay off. So the dough's over here in a nice big glob, but before I can get that all oiled up properly, I'm going to need to dab a little bit of flour onto this cutting board here to knead it up a little bit. The idea is that I just want to make sure that it doesn't get too sticky of a dough to handle, and then I'm going to be good to go. needed as good as it's going to need to be. Okay, that was a bad pun. So now I'm just going to take some plastic wrap, cover up the bowl here, and then let it sit for half an hour to start rising. And then once that's done, I shall be able to prepare a nice delicious pizza for us all. Well, for me and whoever else. I can't prepare it for you right now because I'm on video. You can't eat this stuff. I'm not that far technologically just yet. Okay, got a little time to kill now. Voila. And just as a follow-up to the dough while we're waiting, it should always be covered up and then set to rise in a warm room that has minimal drafts also, because you don't want the air to get in as well. And your sauce, try to keep it at room temperature as much as possible. You can refrigerate it when you want to, but when it gets cold, it's going to thicken up, so it'll be a lot harder to spread. So anytime you want to use it, you should probably take out and let it heat up to room temperature before you use it. And I got some time to kill, and somebody decided to put a pint glass in my hand during the intermission, so I guess I should brew myself a little bit. But I'm not going to go all crazy. I have some Zooming to do tonight with some friends, so I want to save all of my room for that. But nothing wrong with doing a Stavopraven. Holy crap, it's just... Oh! God, I hate when that happens. Ah, boy. Getting too old for this shit. Okay, I'll give it a thorough cleaning afterwards. How does that happen? Well, at least it was mostly foam. As I was about to say before this bloody beer exploded on me, it's a Stavopramen Prava, light Czech blonde beer. Perfect to have a brew without brewing myself too much. As much as I'm enjoying this, the thought of cleaning this up is starting to piss me off. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, I don't see this thing rising too much. But all things considered, I think this is as good as it's going to get. Let's prepare the pizza. I'm going to preheat this to 400 degrees. And then, I have over here one pizza pan oiled up on the bottom so it's a steady stick. And then I'm going to lay it all down. Let's see. I'm going to do like one nice big pizza. Actually, I'd say you could cut this dough in half, and it makes you two good pizzas. You know what? I think I'm going to do just that. I'll make two pizzas so I can get double my value. Because in case this is a Frankenstein pizza and then somehow it gets carried away and grows, I want to be safe. Now, you would roll out your pizza dough right away, but if you're not, you will put it in the fridge for about 48 hours in an airtight bag, or you can freeze it. So this thing is very versatile. So I'll put it here. And I'm going to roll it out. I should probably use the counter instead of the stove. Big mistake. I feel like I'm improvising as I go along. Okay, we're back. Had to stretch out the pizza just a little bit on this to make sure it's done properly. So next, I'm going to administer a good amount of sauce around here and then spread it out. Let's see how this goes. Obviously, this is not going to be a perfectly round pizza like you get in restaurants, but there is an art and a trick to kneading this properly. How they knead it in the air, like, you know, playing with it around over top, I don't know how it's done, but it's quite a handy skill, honestly. There, sauced up just enough. And then I'm going to add one of my next favorite things in life, salty pig. Good thing is when you buy industrial sizes of pepperoni that freeze it and then use it just in case of an emergency. So I'll lay it all on top. And I can be generous with this too. I don't have to stinge on this, like 5 pieces of pepperoni. You know, like if you go to some restaurants or if you see some frozen meals and you ask for like a shrimp pad thai, they only give you 5 pieces of shrimp. And that's if they're being generous too. I guess for some people the seafood or the meat is like the most expensive part. Is that the logic of that? I would not be able to tell you. There, keep that up. Of course, the most expensive part of this is not going to be the salty pig. It's going to be the cheese. Because remember, too much cheese, that was the expression I heard a while back about a guy who worked in a pizzeria, and he was always told that cheese is the most expensive part. There. I got that there. And next, it's time for cheese. Because this would not be the Wonder Yuki Cheese Cafe if there wasn't some kind of cheese involved. It could be actual cheese, or it could be my cheesy jokes I like to spew because I'm a cheese factor, as I'm always called by my friends. Now, if you need any instructions on how to grate cheese, shut this video off. You know how that's done. So what I have here is a bit of plain old mozzarella designed for pizzas. Saputo cheese. This one comes out a bit rubbery, but it's just perfect for when you want a really thick, chewy kind of cheese on a pizza. But it goes well with just about everything. This stuff is way better than that other brick you're going to find is called cheese-related product or cheese process. It ain't the real thing. Keep going with that. Now that I have this, I just need to spread this all out. This is only part 1. Part 2 is going to be more cheese. I thought I'd go all out and have double the cheese here. I'm using Parmesan as well. You could be generous with this as well. And it'll give a nice blend of flavors too. Still a bit of time until this is all preheated too. But because I've done this countless times with just pepperoni and cheese, I'm going to be adding another couple of ingredients. I've got slices of green pepper that I'm going to put on top. And that is going to give me like a really good all-dressed pizza. Of course, if you know you're all-dressed, that's going to require a little bit more. Well, I've come prepared too. The next step is administering some mushrooms on top of this. Just going to space these out, put a good healthy amount of it. And I've got a few more minutes until this thing is preheated and then I could shove this in. And there's many other ways you could prepare this too. I'm sure you could do a really good smoked meat pizza like I've had in pizzerias before. I've had vegetarian ones. You could probably use bacon. Hawaiian if you're into that kind of thing, but apparently some people on dating apps are going to say like it's a no-go if you like pineapple on pizza. These are the same people who say that if you like coriander and it's not going to work out. Yeah, I wish I was making up this stuff. Not enough room for one more mushroom. Oh well, let's put it to good use. And yes, I washed it. I'm not an idiot. So, while this thing is warming up, I'm going to put it in. And then, I'm going to put my timer to 20 minutes. So this will be my very first pizza from scratch. We'll see how this turns out, and if it's a success, I've got a second one lined up, ready to go too. And I guess if this turns out to be a failure, then, well, you'll have it captured on video here for all your amusement. There, we've gotten to the end, everyone. I'm gonna keep this on. Let's see how this pizza turned out. Ooh la la. It's an imperfect pizza, but you know what? Sorry, I gotta pose for my title card. Ah! Sorry, sizzling a bit. So not bad for a first attempt. I suppose there's something else I should have pointed out too. If you want to get a good browned crust, you could just splash a little bit of water or sprinkle some olive oil around, and then that would help it crisp up just a bit more. I'm sure there's also an art to getting a good thick crust, but that's going to come with another video. Not bad. I'm going to give it the taste test and we'll see what it's like afterwards. But I also have enough dough to whip up a second pizza, so let's take it from there. Beautiful. Now, let's see how this goes over here. I'm kind of stoked to try this because of how well it looked. And of course, I'm going to be having a little bit of a salad over here. Just some lettuce with a very garlicky Caesar dressing. Just as though someone doesn't complain about me eating things plain yet again. I'm not going to taste test the dressing because I know this one well. It's the pizza that I'm curious about. First time with dough. First time with making my own sauce. I hope it's a success. Well, I guess I should taste the topping with the sauce. Hey, quite good. The sauce is good. I'm gonna have to be messy. Sorry, folks. Yep. This is excellent. Crispy enough on the bottom, thin crust, not too thick. And the flavoring is really nice too. So yeah, I'm quite satisfied. And I got my second pizza in the oven right now, because I don't want that dough to go to waste. Maybe later in the week I can make another one and send over to my mom. So her trick with the dough, in case I didn't talk about yet, it's a very basic recipe. You just throw into the bread maker. It kneads for a few hours and then you're set to go. So really not that hard to prepare either. But I want to see how it compares to hers. I love that one. I love this one. So we're going to wait and see what it's like. I'm going to have a little bit of sparkling water to go with this to help down it. Quicker than I can say, bon appetito while playing with my hat. Wait, why does that ring a bell? The Wandering Yuki here with a... Something's missing here.
Buon appetito.
Grazie. Sometimes I feel naked with that hat. Oh yeah, that. Man, hard to believe. The timing of that was just perfect in that video. So, satisfactory. My pizza was not a Frankenstein disaster. Dough was well, sauce is tasty, everything else is good. I'm a happy camper. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another edition of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. I'm signing off for Sunday, or whenever this episode actually drops. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hit that like button below if you like what you see. Don't forget to subscribe to new updates. Send me a comment if you want, and above all else, spread that cheese like no tomorrow.